Hi, so today we're going to be having a chilled conversation on how to navigate remote interviews and make you land your next interview. Yes, that is actually the essence of this video to help you get hired, to make sure that the next interview you're going to be jumping on after watching this video, you get through to it, like you get an offer. Okay, so what are we going? We're going to be talking about interview questions, how to navigate interview so that you actually get the attention, not just the attention, but you get, the love of your recruiter and be on their top radar. So one of the major questions I usually get in my DM from fellow remote workers or beginner remote workers is usually how to navigate interviews because people are on a different journey. Because people are on a different journey when it comes to remote job hunting. Some persons are at the level where they are trying to even be booked for interview. While some persons are already past that stage because their CV is now beating the ATX, right? They have been able to know how to, navigate or optimize their CV and get you through the applicant tracking system so that a human eye can actually see the CV. So they are no longer at that level. They are at the level where they already know which job to apply to, apply to that job, right? And eventually get a recruiter to book an interview. But the major hurdle or challenge right now is how to navigate interviews. Now there are a different when it comes to interview, there are actually like a different or a number of things that makes a good interview. The questions you need to ask your recruiters that makes you stand out, that makes you the absolute best. Like you don't become part of the choice that they have. Like say for instance, you interviewed 5%. These questions will make you stand out because it makes you look like the obvious choice, the ideal candidate they want to work with. Now, when it comes to interview, the number one thing I always like to tell people, my students and every other person that I've ever coached or come across is that whether we like it or not, see, yeah, it is remote interview. Nobody is going to know whether you're under your panties or pages, but appearing beautiful, okay, appearing good on camera is an actually absolute advantage that a lot of persons do not take seriously. Yeah, it is underrated. But I'm going to tell you, as someone who works in operation and I've been on the hiring side, I've been opportunity to work with recruiters, I've been opportunity to work with my clients and see how they hire. I could tell that some of those things also influence the hiring decisions. It also influences that perception about you and like the overall look about everything about you. It is not about being the most beautiful, the most fairest person or the blackest person in the room. No, it is about appearing good, professional in interview. Now this is what I'm going to tell you. If you're a lady, always ensure you wear a smile. I want to ask you a question. If you were to go for a physical interview, you take your time to actually prepare for it. Put on a good spirit, look good, iron your dress, put on a good hair, probably like braided a hair or something. You pack it, you gel it. You put a lip gloss, apply a mild, like a light powder or something, all because you want to impress. You want to look good, you want to look smart. So why do you think that also remote work does not require that level of preparation? I mean, have you thought it? Have you really sat it down to consider this aspect? Why do you always think that because it's removed, all you need is your face that is popping up? Fine and good, it's just a headshot, right? But even that very little place they are going to be seeing your face and everything, make it stand out. And whatever thing you're going to be putting on there is no longer anybody's business, but try to look smart. Now, with no disrespect to my male audience, right? But if you're a female remote worker, job hunting or something, you actually have like a greater advantage because you know how women would like to appear, put on your wig and stuff like that. There's actually like a beautiful thing about putting on a wig to an interview. Now, I'm not saying if you have braids on, it's not going to count, but I'm just letting you know from perception, right? So that is one thing with the interview. Another thing I like to tell people with the interview is you don't need to have it all. Even if it's just a white background that is showing, it is fine. You can get like a sticker. If you go on Temo, you can actually get stickers for a small amount and you can just put it around your wall. It kind of gives this aesthetic look. This is something I would always tell you. I have laptops, like I have different laptops. So whenever I'm jumping on an interview, the particular laptop I'm going to be using, I try to create I try to make the perception of my workstation look so solid and professional to my ID client or my recruiters. So what I do is if I'm going to be the particular laptop I'm going to be using, that is one that will be on my front. The other one will be beside me, right? So while you're interviewing and they're seeing your face, they could literally peep through your work environment, and that would tell them, oh, this person is actually like is structured. This person is structured. This person has a structure. This person actually operates as a business. Because whether you like it or not, clients actually like to think or want to know that you're treating this thing as a business. Like every single thing about what you do as a remote worker, as a freelancer, comes from the business, acumen. Like you're doing it like an actual business. So that is one. Another thing I want to tell you is to get a headphone. I'm going to show you my headphone right away. Okay, so this is a noise cancelling headphone I use for my interview. Actually works absolutely well. This is another one. This is another one. Oh my goodness. This is another one that has the microphone on it. I also use for interview. This thing didn't cost me so much to actually get. Now you don't have to have two like I do. You can actually start with one. But these things account for something. I'm going to tell you an experience. Do you know I actually sometime in 2024 I lost a remote job that was supposed to pay me $500 monthly retainer at least for the first 3 months trial because I didn't have my microphone on. So, and I lived in a compound that is, of course, a public compound, so the noise were echoing, and that didn't affected my client. And the first question my client asked after she got uncomfortable with me trying to speak through the noise, she said, "Don't you have a noise canceling microphone that you use for interviews? I mean, like as a remote worker, you should have these things. It's one of the basic requirements you need." And at that point, I started stuttering because I mean, like, I never thought it would come up or it become an issue. Maybe because most of my interview prior to that time, I usually are sync interviews where we just talk, chat, and then they confirm through my CV. And sometimes because I also pitch to clients, yes, I pitch a lot. I've worked with more pitched clients than I have worked with clients that I applied like through the traditional job platforms and yeah, that was how that job went. And ever since then, actually, these ones are actually very new. The one I got after that very incident, that very experience in 2024, got sports. So I trashed that. I got this one. So you need it. Nobody's going to tell you this truth, but you need it. If you're actually looking at commanding high paying gigs, you need it. Another thing that also will enhance your interview or that will make you a good candidate or a professional in doing interview is lightning. Okay, so some persons it depends on how your room is structured. So if your room is structured in such a way that your window is maybe far or your window is close to a place that would generate noise, so you prefer to pull yours close to the wall like I do, you can get a simple ring light. Now you don't need to get like aesthetics, all those sophisticated lighting like I currently do. You can just get a ring light. That was what I started with. Get a ring light with a USB cord that you can easily use your power bank to charge. For say for instance, you want to interview or jump on an interview and there's no light at the time, you can easily plug it in your power bank to give you lightning, to give you enough illumination so that you feel comfortable and good. So another thing that you can also get during or when preparing for interview that would also help you stay comfortable and relaxed. This is highly optional, right? And maybe because as someone like me that usually sweat a lot, okay, I have to get it for myself. This you can get a bigger one. I can actually bring that one here now. Now it's solar. You can actually also use the Go power tank to power it or your power bank, or you can get this one. Even your power bank can actually charge it and put it very close, not too close, bro. Just put it somewhere close to your face so that it does not, so you don't sweat through the interview. But it is highly optional. Say for instance, if your room is highly ventilated, right, that you have windows and stuff like that, you may not need it. But if you're going to be putting your workstation close to the wall, a bit far from the window, you'll be needing it because during the interview, because of how intense and how you're trying to, and one thing you also need to understand is that because I use lightning, so this lightning generates heat. Okay, so that is why I also get this little fan. I have the bigger one actually, but I can't bring it here. So these things, nobody is going to tell you these things. Again, I'm not sure a lot of persons have, come to this realization that this thing actually makes for a good interview. It does. And I'm telling you from experience. I've been in this game for 5.5 years, and I could tell you honestly, without stuttering, that this thing makes for a good interview. Okay, so now we've talked about the tools that makes for a good interview, that makes you look relaxed, that makes your whole, business area look well situated and also give your client or your recruiter a good perception about you and how professional you are. Let's also talk about something that also kind of, elevates you the more and puts you ahead of the curve. And that thing is your you, like that particular thing is your services, the you. And now that boils down to how the words that come out from your mouth, right? And good words cannot come out from your mouth if you don't have your research, if you did not do your due diligence, you did not research the company. A lot of person, I was actually talking to someone seriously, and the person is like, "Oh, I hear this is a lot." I hear these things a lot. Research companies. It is becoming cliche, but as much as it is becoming cliche, it is not overestimated. It's actually the real truth. It is the fact. Imagine being asked a question and you're using them to answer the question. Like you're literally telling them the story about their life, their business, and everything about them, and using it to answer your question. Do you know that? Do you know what that does for you? Do you know what it makes you look like? And international clients love people who are very observant, people who pay attention to details. When I mean attention to details, people who go the extra mile. For you to be able to pinpoint and get all of those facts out, it means that you've actually taken time. And there is a perception around when you make research and they know that you've done research. It means that you dedicated time to work. And that thing you have done is going to tell them, oh, when I employ this person, I give this person a project, this person is also going to dedicate time. And even when something is unclear, they're not going to be rambling. They are going to actually go in all out and do a research, bring out solution, recommendation, and even maybe like solve the problem before it escalates. So, like we said, you need to research the company one, and you need to prepare for the interview. How do you prepare for an interview? Copy the job description of the interview you're already applying to, right? Take it to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to prepare situational questions. It should give you the one the interviewer will ask and also give you the response you're supposed to give. Now you can generate as many. The reason why I like to say generate as many is that you never know which one is going to be part of the questions they are already structuring for you. So if you generate over 20 questions that you take about 48 hours to process it, being honest, there is no way at least 3 to 4 of what you've practiced will not come out, and you're going to feel confident in yourself answering that. Because yeah, even though you've rehearsed it, it looks like you crammed it or something, but you're more relaxed, you're more calm. And there is something else I like to tell people. Yeah, it's not about cramming the interview, cramming the questions or response you're going to give your interviewer. It is about understanding the perception behind the questions. Whenever they ask questions, okay, tell me a time where something happened, a deadline, how are you able to, manage all of those things? They're not literally looking at you speaking big grammar. They're looking at the thinking behind how you work. That is it, how you communicate. That is one thing they want to picture from that response you're going to give them. Not necessarily the big English you're going to speak that you have crammed. So sometimes you may not even get maybe the questions you practiced they did not come out, but you understand the reason why they're asking that question. You can relax and respond professionally. Now, the least but not the last is interview questions. See, whether you like it or not, in an interview, you're not only the interviewee. You have your interviewer during the end of the interviewer, the role switches, and that is where you become strategic. You become the interviewer, interviewing your interviewer. And it is not just about the question, so it feels like you belong. It feels like, oh, I understand how those things are structured. No, genuinely ask this question. So I'm going to be reading out questions that these are questions that I literally always ask clients, and I'll tell you the honest truth. These questions, yeah, they're going to give you a response, but it also opens loops, so you're going to see where the challenges are. Does these people look toxic? Do they look like they pay, or are they the kind of people that would actually give you challenges, or is it going to be a smooth work area? Intentional questions also make the interviewer see you as someone who is genuinely interested in the role. They love people who are interested, not for the money, but in the actual project, in the actual work, in the actual tasks. So these are the questions. Now, the first question is what I call the success metrics question. So at the end of the interview, when your interviewer asks you, do you have a question for us? Do not say no. So you can use a list of all these questions for them, depending on what you're interviewing for, or the questions that you think they have already answered during maybe responses or other conversations that ensued between. So the first one is, if we are sitting here a year from now celebrating my first 12 a month, what specific result will I have delivered to make you feel this was a home run hire? I have literally always used this, and it's the beautiful thing about this question is sometimes it lingers and it turns into a very chilled conversation. You have the recruiter smiling, saying things, and then you're like, oh wow, I think I like it here. Did you see? So this will force them to visualize you and also already picturing you as part of the team. So the second question is the burnout question, and you're going to ask during like interview. So another thing I need to say before I read this out is always ensure you ask about 2 to 3 questions. Don't just ask one and relax. That in itself is not enough to help you know what you want to know, help you understand what you want to know, right? So you need to probe for that. So the burnout dictator question or the burnout question is, how does the team handle high pressure periods, or mixed deadlines? And what this particular question is going to open up is going to like help you understand the company work culture. If they are toxic, me, I don't like working in toxic environments, so I ask questions that will help you. Because do you know one thing? It's not about not working in toxic environments, but the thing with toxic clients is that they do not know they are toxic, and they will ruin your reputation. They could give you a bad review that would demoralize you or even spoil your profile professionally. So it is always important to ask questions that help you understand. It is not usually always about the money. The money is good, but it is important you have something. See, I rather take my time to get a long term project, maybe like a 6 month, a 1 year contract that will pay me well, than to jump into something that will jump out in a day, maybe like 2 days time or a week's time, and then I'm back to the street. And the one thing with that kind of thing is it puts you into a depressed mood. It will take about few days for you to come out of that state of mind. So the third question you need to ask your recruiter is the resourcing reality. So you're going to ask, what is the biggest bottleneck currently preventing the team from hitting quarterly goals? So this question shows that you're already thinking about solving the problem. You're already thinking about the challenges the company have and how you can solve it. Smart questions only. So the first question is the pre-Martin question. So you're going to ask, what happened to the last? This is actually like my favorite questions to ask, especially when I'm working in operations or executive assistant. If I'm going to be working as a digital branch director, yeah, I kind of ask that question. But executive, I need to know what happened to the person that was working there before. So you're going to ask the question, what happened to the last person who held this role? Did they move up, or was there a specific challenge they could not overcome? You see, this very question is going to uncover the ghost in their work culture, in them, and you have them literally saying or spilling out the things that will help you understand. Sometimes it may not really be that they are toxic, it could be that the person didn't perform well, and or there's a specific challenge that the person was not able to uncover, and the client has to let the person go. So if you understand it, it means that you're going to, before you even receive the offer later, you're going to even start making research and start asking yourself, does this look like what I want to work, what I can solve? Okay. So the fifth question you should always ask a recruiter during interview is the shadow question. So you're going to ask them, what is the one thing working here that is not in the job description but is very vital to the success or the success of my role or my job, right? Whether you would like it or not, every company, every brand have unwritten rule, and this very question will uncover it. It will bring it out. It's going to help you know what these things are. So the sixth question is actually called the skeptical save. So what is question? This question is actually very bold. It allows you to uncover the hidden doubts on the spot. So the question is, based on our conversation today, is there anything about my background that gives you pause or makes you think I wouldn't be a perfect fit? Now you're going to listen to them talk. So it will help you uncover the doubts. So when they start saying, "Oh, you mentioned about internet," did you see? You will nail it at that place. So you will not allow them to go with that doubt and conclude in your absence. So they should conclude in your presence so that you can tell them, no, it is not a problem. Or they talk about electricity, or they talk about maybe because you mentioned you don't know how to use Go High Level, but you know how to use other tools. You let them know you're a fast learner and you need just 12 hours of dedication. You're going to come back blowing their minds. I mean, I ask these questions, especially for operational roles, because that is more in depth, that is more structural. All right. So I really honestly need to know, yeah, because I want to know. The seventh question, which I call the golden close template that you can always use in interview, is I don't have any more questions about the role. That is maybe when you exhausted your 2 questions or your 3 questions. All right, you say I don't have any more questions about the role, but I love to leave you with this based on our conversation about certain problems or maybe challenge or the role. I am already thinking about the solution. All right. So I'd love to bring that energy to the team. I mean, this shows some level of, I don't want to say intentionality, but that is what it so brings. The client or the recruiter is going to leave that call, leave that interview, wondering what kind of a person have they met today. And one thing you need to understand about interview is, especially when you're still on the first stage interview or you're in shortlist, they're going to be having about 3 persons or 4 persons they have interviewed. Now, if you are now the first person they interviewed, you need to leave a lasting impression, a long lasting impression, so that even if they meet another 3 exceptional good candidates, that lasting impression that you've created is going to linger. So even when this 3 other person looks like, they are dabbling in, or it is now left between, I don't know, but like maybe 3 top persons, and you are among the 3 top persons, they remember all the things you did. They would always remember. They would always know. That is why we say always create long lasting impressions during interview, because that is what they are going to. I said this again. I've been opportunity to be on the hiring side, and I know how this thing happens. I know what influences decision. There is something a recruiter would always remember and say, "Oh, that guy that said something like that. Yeah, he was the one that asked that question or said something about all of these things." Impression, it matters whether we like it or not. So you are going to be getting into the next interview highly prepared. And if you have questions for me on what we've covered today, or maybe on anything on remote work, or if there's something you would want me to create content on, maybe like talk about or show us how it actually works in real life. I mean, I bring practical knowledge. You should hit me that on the comment section, and I will take it up from there. Please, if you have not subscribed to my channel at this point, I honestly think you should. Please do. All right, thank you. So I'll see you in my next video.